In this video, we are going to take a look at what is known as the midpoint. And the midpoint can be defined as the point that is halfway between two given points. Pretty much just how it sounds. And so to investigate the midpoint, we're going to start with this problem. Given 2 points, one at -2, 2, and the second point at 4, 2, we're going to connect those with a line segment. And the question for you is, where is the midpoint, or the middle, between these 2 points? Well, if you look here, this segment being horizontal, flat, we can just go ahead and count the distance across between the 2 points, and recognize that it is 6 squares, or 6 units across. And all we're trying to do is cut 6 in half. 6 divided by 2 is just 3. So if we count 3 units from either end, we should end up right at the middle. In this case, at the coordinate 1, 2. And that would represent our midpoint. But let's look at a slightly different example. Now we're given points A at 3, 1 and B at -4, 3. Where is the midpoint of segment AB, the segment that connects these 2 points? So we'll go ahead and start by drawing them. Here's point A at 3, 1, point B at -4, 3, and segment AB that connects the 2. And notice this one's going to be a little bit tougher because this segment is slanted. It's not just us counting boxes to find the middle, we're going to have to think of another way. Well, notice that vertically going up and down between the 2 points, we've moved a total of 2 units. Going left and right, horizontally, we moved a total of 7 units. So the trick for finding the midpoint of this segment is we're going to go halfway in each of those directions. Halfway up and down, halfway left and right, which helps us develop what's known as our midpoint formula. And if we want to go halfway in the x direction, mathematically what we can do is take our 2 x values that we'll have from each coordinate, add them up, and divide by 2. Similarly, we can take the 2 y values that we have for our points, add those up and divide by 2. And all we're calculating really is an average. Average the x's and average the y's. And what we end up with are the coordinates for our midpoint. So I'm going to start by labeling the x and y coordinates for each point. One of them x1, y1, one of them x2, y2, and we're going to put those into our formula. So our 2 x values, 3 and -4, add those and divide by 2. The y values, 1 and 3, we add those and divide by 2. Simplifying this, our x coordinate will become -1/2, and our y coordinate will become 4/2. And we can simplify a little bit more. We'll keep that -1/2, because that's pretty descriptive, and 4 divided by 2 is just 2. And to check if this point's reasonable, we graph -1/2, 2. That sure looks like it's on the line, and it looks pretty reasonable that that point cuts our segment in half. To visually confirm this, if I split that vertical distance of 2 in half, so 1 and 1, and I split the horizontal distance in half, split that 7 into 2 pieces that are each 3.5, notice how drawing segments from those 2 middles will connect at our midpoint. So you get visual confirmation of the math that we just did. For our final example, let's look at this a slightly different way. Something else we can do by understanding how the midpoint works. We have a segment with endpoint -3, -2. And we already know its midpoint is at -1, 1. And our goal here is to find the other endpoint. So we start from -3, -2. We go to our midpoint, but we don't know where we're going to come out on the other side. We don't know where this other point is. Probably somewhere up here, but we don't know the exact coordinates. So we got end, and we've got middle. Where's the other end? Let's think about the horizontal movement between the 2 points and the vertical movement. Horizontally between the endpoint and midpoint, we moved 2 units to the right, so +2. And vertically, between the y values, we moved up by 3. Well, if that movement got me to the middle, all we have to do is copy that movement one more time, and we should end up on the other end. Matching movement, 2 to the right and up 3, should get us to our other endpoint at 1, 4. And certainly it looks from the picture that that midpoint is halfway between now the 2 endpoints we have. And another way you can set up this problem is ignore the graph completely and just focus on the values. We solved this by actually drawing in the horizontal and vertical motion, but just by looking at the numbers, I can also see that to get from my end to my middle, from -3 to -1, my x value, I added 2. And from -2 to 1, my y value, I added 3. And if I just copy those steps one more time on the midpoint, I will end up at my other endpoint. -1 plus 2 is 1, and 1 plus 3 is 4. And that'll do it for this lesson on midpoint. Thank you for watching.